All right, good morning, traders. Today is May 7th, 2025. My name is John Kerrigan. I'm the lead instructor here at BYOB Trading. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in Cyberland, Podcast Land, Digital Land. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. Thank you for leaving kind words. Thank you for leaving thumbs up. Thank you for finding value in the content. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm honored. I try to provide valuable content every single day. All right. My SPY pivot this morning, 559.90. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab 5 are in daily uptrends. All of the Fab 5 are in daily uptrends. All made lower lows and lower highs, closing inside bullish traps over their hooking 17 EMAs. SPY closed with a 2-hour downtrend and a 10-minute downtrend. Gold's in a daily uptrend still. Gold made a higher high and a higher low, knocking on the door of the all-time high. Closed over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. Silver, still in a downtrend, made a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish cross over the 17 EMA. USO still in a downtrend, made a higher low and a higher high, closing inside a bearish trap below the 17. UNG in a daily downtrend, made a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap but under the flat 17. US dollar index still in a downtrend, closed near the 99.52 area. SPY max pain is 561 with a put to call ratio for today of 1.3 puts to each call that expires today at 4:15. Hey, good morning, Lorena, Alexander, and Erasmo. Thank you for being here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some charts. All right, look at that one, Amazon. It's turning green. It's getting there. Okay, let's take a look at SPY. All right, that's kind of messy. Let's look up something clean, okay? So, on the daily chart, lower high, lower low, closing inside the bullish trap over the 17 with the scratch 4 quad lines on it. You can see price action. This purple line is up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. I would expect a pullback to that all-time high anchored VWAP. Maybe find a bounce off of it and rip back in the other direction. Anyways, that's where we are on the daily chart, over the 17, inside the bullish trap, making higher lows right here. Here's a low, made a higher low. There's a high, made a higher high. So that puts us in an uptrend. We're not in the upper third, we're not in the lower third, okay? So that puts us in neutral zone right there. But we were knocking on the door of the upper third. That would be the bullish area. So there's SPY on the daily chart. On the 2-hour chart, we've got 2-hour downtrend. Why? Because you see the 3 EMA, that's that yellow line right there, underneath the white EMA right there. So that's 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. All right, on the 10-minute chart, we had a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. I would look for a continuation of that downtrend. We'll see what we get. All right, so looking for a continuation of the downtrend. Right now we gapped up, so we'll see what happens. All right, we've got a downtrend line that exists right about here. Okay, all right. We may, you can see how close we are. We may go attack that downtrend line just to test it sometime today. All right, might be at the beginning of the day, might be after a failed breakdown. It might be after a move lower, all right, and then a move back up, all right? So getting close to that, we tagged the uptrend line, which was, see if I can find it right here. In the pre-market, we tagged this uptrend line right there, okay, yesterday. So I think we're heading back up to the other side over here. All right, that's where I think we're going. All right, so there's SPY. Let's take a look at the game plan. And on the game plan, let's slide this over. Here we go. Game plan for SPY. Buy pivot, 559.90. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. You can see where price went up there in the morning, stopped, reversed, came up through it, went up, come back and tested it. So this is a area for me that the market's telling me is important. 559.90. Okay, I like 2 days till expiration Friday options, 9 days till expiration Friday options. I like the options that expire on the increment of 5, meaning 555, 560, 565, 570. You get it. You add 5 to the number, that's for your next strike that I like. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, especially when they break the rubber band candle. All right. I like I said, 2 and 9 DTE Friday options with strike prices on the nickels. All right, or on the increments of $5 to $15 out of the money because I got a small account, so I can't afford to be in the money. All right, those options are expensive, all right? So I'd rather be a little bit out of the money, get a little bit more affordable with those, okay? So on the green erases red over 561.21. Red erases green under, that's our entry, 558.40, all right? So we'll see where we go today. All right, like I said, we hit here in the post-market, this uptrend line yesterday, and then around 6:30, 6 o'clock, it ripped to the up here, but didn't hit the downtrend line yet. Okay, so I'm thinking if they got a bull flag up there, probably going to go up there and attack it. All right, so we can take a look at that a little bit later before we wrap up the video. Let's take a look at QQQ game plan. QQQ pivot 482.20. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Red erases green underneath 480.85. Green erases red over 483.30. Above 488.30. 483.30. Okay. I like 2 DTE 9 days till expiration Friday options, same as SPY. $2 to $15 out of the money because I got a small account. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. All right, so we'll see where we go today. All right, and let's take a look at the daily chart, and we'll look at it on the scratch. Okay, just like SPY. Okay, got a lower high and a lower low. So we closed inside the bullish trap over the hooking 17 EMA. Okay, just like SPY, up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. QQQ and SPY, both over the all-time high anchored VWAP. QQQ and SPY on the 2-day chart. Okay, they're still in a downtrend because they haven't made a higher high yet. Okay, they made a high here, but it's still lower than this one. Okay, so they haven't made a higher high that projects through the 17. So no higher high yet. So far, 2 days in a downtrend. Okay, 3-day, same deal, still in a downtrend. Both SPY and QQQ on the weekly chart. Okay, see what's the low. We took out this low, we took out that low, we took out that low, and we came close. Let's see what we do. And we took out this low over here, okay? So we made lower lows, all right? So next spot on the weekly chart is to take out this high in order to negate the downtrend. Taking out all those lows put us into a downtrend. So there's QQQ, all right? And on the monthly chart, we're in an uptrend, all right? In order to create a downtrend, they'd have to come all the way down here and take out this low down here. So far ways off. They'll get there eventually, maybe not this year. Hopefully not this year at all. All right, so there's QQQ on the monthly chart, still in a monthly uptrend. All right, go back and take a look at SPY. You can see SPY's doing the same thing. Okay, unless they take out this low right here, they're going to stay in that monthly uptrend. All right, and let's take a look at IWM. All right, IWM on the daily chart, just like the others, lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17, that hooking 17. See how it hooks? It turns from, this is the 17 EMA, this is the red dots, turns from red dots to green dots. Okay, when price is above the 17 EMA, the color turns green. Okay, when it's below it, the color turns red. Okay, so there's IWM on the daily chart. In an uptrend, all right? They made a higher low, and they made a higher high. They got a pullback here that went below the 17, kind of a weak uptrend, but it is what it is. All right, so you got a low right here. See the high, pulled back, made a low underneath, and now they came in and made a higher high. So all five of the fabulous five are in daily uptrends. All right, they all pretty much made the same candle yesterday, which is a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17. Okay, so IWM in an uptrend. Okay, finally, no longer in the lower third. All right, that's probably questionable. No longer in the lower third, so that's neutral. All right, I got to say it's knocking on the door of being back into the bearish zone. We'll see what happens. That's IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow in an uptrend. There's a high. They made a higher high. There's a low. They made a higher low. So higher lows, higher highs. That's an uptrend. Diamond Dow, same deal. Lower high, lower low, closing inside the bullish trap over the hooking 17 EMA. And on top of this downtrend line right there. So there's Diamond Dow. Not in the lower third, not in the upper third. So all of the Fab Five are sitting in neutral territory. So there's Diamond Dow. Let's take a look. We did QQQ. Let's take a look at FNGA or FNGB. Again, lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the hooking 17 EMA, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP, underneath the midpoint, not in the lower third, not in the upper third, so it's just neutral. There's a low, there's a higher low, there's a high, there's a higher high. So making higher highs and higher lows. That's an uptrend for FNGA. FNGA on the weekly chart is still in a downtrend, just like SPY on the monthly chart. They made a lower low. They're in a monthly downtrend. Unlike SPY and QQQ, they actually took out this low that projected through the 17. So they're in a downtrend right now on the monthly chart. Weekly chart, yeah, they're still in a downtrend. Okay, that's FNGA. Let's take a look at our technicals, T2122. We spent the day inside of the buy zone, knocking on the door of the buyer's chop zone. But all in all, we hung out in here all day long, all right, in the buy zone. All right, it's T2122. Let's take a look at T2123. It's a 15-minute chart, making some higher lows and some higher highs. See the low right here that projects through the 17. So there's a low. And of course we got another low. So that's a higher low. There's a high. All right, we're making higher highs. So that puts us in an uptrend. We're on top of the curling 200 SMA. That's bullish. We're consolidating over prior consolidation. That's also bullish. We're looking like we're holding the higher ground in a bull flag. That's bullish. We got a bullish gap that hasn't been filled here. Although we do got some bearish gaps that haven't been filled here. We finally filled this gap over here. Did we or didn't we? Yes, we did. We filled that gap. Okay, so price action got a bearish gap right there. Hopefully they can get up there and get ready to attack that from the midpoint stance. We'll see. Right now they're bull flagging underneath the midpoint. Okay, so there's T2123 15-minute chart. Okay, you can see price action, all right, came down and went into a bear flag with a breakdown move, creating another bear flag, an even bigger bear flag, kind of extended there with the fabric. But price action is still in a bear flag. If we linger here too long, there might be sellers, and I'm sure they're already showing up as we pull back to the midpoint right here. So there's T2123. That's the 15-minute chart. Let's take a look at the 3-bar chart. Okay, on the 3-bar chart, again, you got a bear flag, kind of long with the fabric there. It's longer than the flagpole. Price action, you notice the red dots turn from red, and about 3-4 last week they turned green right here. So there's Is it in an uptrend? No, not FNGA is not in an uptrend here on the 15-minute chart. I think they are on the daily, though. Now, this is T2123. What am I talking about? Okay, for them to get an uptrend, they got to take out this high up here. See the green dots? I got lost for a minute. So you got to see the green dots up here. They got to take those out. They haven't done that yet. But there's a high. They made a higher high. All right, so that puts them in a 15-minute uptrend because they made a higher high. Well, actually, no, they didn't. They took out that high. They're not in a 15-minute uptrend. They have to come all the way up here and take out that one. All right, on the 3-bar chart. Okay, but they did make a higher high than this right here. Okay, see that pullback right there. Bull flagging up here, put in 3 more green candle bars. Still caught underneath the falling 200 SMA. All right, still caught underneath 2 prior all-time high anchored VWAPs and the all-time high, which is way up here. All right, so T2123 3-bar chart. Still a lot of work to be done. In order to get that uptrend, they got to take out this high. But I do like what I see right there. Let's take a look at FNGA. Price action got a bullish gap that hasn't been filled in 3 or 4 days. Got consolidation over prior consolidation. That's bullish. All right, consolidation on top of prior consolidation. That's bullish. Price up over 200 SMA. Right through here. Okay. That red line. That's bullish right there. So there's FNGA. So holding the higher ground, holding the gaps open, making higher lows and higher highs. This is bullish FNGA. All right. Let's go take a look at let's take a look at energy. All right. Let's take a look at energy. Energy. If I got the right one, yeah. I just need to change it to XLE. All right, XLE energy right here, price action, inside day, closing under the bearish trap, under the 17, down in the lower third, so that's bearish. No uptrend yet for XLE. They'd have to take out this high. No uptrend right now. Currently, underneath downtrend line 1, downtrend line 2, the midpoint under the 17 EMA, and underneath the all-time high, underneath the bearish trap. All right, so price action not looking too good for XLE. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO down here in quadrant 4, that's bearish. Okay, lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish trap, underneath the falling 17, underneath this 3-year high anchored VWAP. Okay, that's the post-COVID high right there. See the pink line? So up over that post-COVID high right there. Still down here in the lower third, so that's still bearish. Just like XLE, I think, was neutral. Let's see, XLE. No, XLE was bearish as well. Okay, in the lower third. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG on the daily chart. Got a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap underneath the 17 EMA, underneath the downtrend line, and still in a downtrend, but no longer in the lower third, so it's not bearish. It's just neutral, but they could find their way. After making a lower high here, they could find their way back down here to the bearish zone, which would be the upper third. Okay, so there's UNG in a downtrend. Currently, in the past 2 weeks, hasn't been moving down. It's been moving up. And we are over this 12-month high anchored VWAP right here. That's a 12-month high anchored VWAP. And price action underneath this downtrend line also right here. So we'll see if they get a breakout here on UNG. All right, they're coming up to that trend line. I don't think so. I think they get slapped down, come down here, make a double bottom, and then rip up through. That's just my opinion. That's what I think might happen. We'll see what happens. All right. So there's UNG. Let's take a look at precious metals. All right, GLD got a higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross, or over the bullish trap, over the 17 EMA. That's the green dots right through there. Knocking on the door of the all-time high. That's it right there, up over the all-time high, anchored VWAP. So gold is bullish and in an uptrend. UNG still in a downtrend. Okay, if we go back to UNG, all right, still in a downtrend because it made lower highs and lower lows. So still in a downtrend, but in the neutral zone. All right, let's take a look at SLV. That's silver. Higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross over the 12-month high anchored VWAP, which also doubles as a 6-month high anchored VWAP. All right, so there's SLV. Let's take a look at SMH. SMH no longer in the lower third, so that's neutral, making higher lows and higher highs. Nothing impressive yet, but I do like the fact that they're no longer in the bearish lower third. Still underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP, still underneath this downtrend line right there. Let's take a look at the big brother for SMH. That'd be XLK. You see XLK a little leaner, a little meaner up here in quadrant 3 as opposed to SMH down here in quadrant 2. Okay, XLK knocking on the door of the upper third there. Price action for yesterday, lower high, lower low, closing in the bullish trap over the hooking 17 and up over this all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so there's XLK, big brother for SMH. All right, looking leaner and meaner up here in quadrant 3. Still underneath the backside of this uptrend line right there. But XLK making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend and just neutral right through this zone right here. Not in the upper third, not in the lower third. Let's take a look at XLF. Financials in the upper third, so that puts them in the bullish state, making higher lows and higher highs. So they're getting it done. They're ready to rock and roll. They're ready for a rally. Okay, they've done their job. They're up there in quadrant. They're up there in the upper third. All right, and they're making higher lows and higher highs. So that's an uptrend, and they're on top of all-time high anchored VWAP. What more could be in their way, right? So everything's looking good. Maybe we wait to see what FOMC says at 2 o'clock today, and maybe we rip. I don't know, with them not having much to say. We'll see. So far, I don't see much going on. All right, but it could be working on some watercolors there. I don't know. Anyways, there's XLF. Let's take a look at IYT. Price action no longer in the lower third, and we have a low here. And we have a low here, that's a higher low. We have a high here and a high here, that's a higher high. So we got ourselves an uptrend on IYT. But what we don't have is, what we do have is just barely squeaking out of the lower third right here, which would be the bearish zone. So kind of melted its way up out of this bearish zone. Now neutral and in an uptrend underneath this all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, let's take a look at our max pain for SPY puts and calls today is 561 with a 1.3 puts to each call that expires today. So not much of a short squeeze there, but they might still push it if they create some intraday bear trap. We'll see what happens. On the economic calendar, the main event is today. Okay, it's at 2 o'clock. FOMC is going to make an announcement, and then we're going to have a little presser at 2:30. I don't think anything's going to change. I know POTUS wants a rate cut, but I can't see this guy changing. I wouldn't change. I'm just not ready yet. But I think we could get ready in a heartbeat. But the thing that worries me is the experience. All right, so they don't have. What am I talking about there? FOMC at 2 p.m. today. That's the main event. Okay, right there. Presser at 2:30. All right. Thursday, jobless claims 8:30. Productivity and costs 8:30. Wholesale inventories 10 o'clock. Natural gas report at 10:30. All right. Friday, what do we got? Rig count at 1 o'clock. Whole bunch of Fed speakers, but none of them are Mr. Powell. Let's take a look at earnings calendar for Wednesday. All right. Novo Nordisk going to report this morning. Pharmaceuticals, 308 billion. All right. Uber, 178 billion, going to report this morning. Walt Disney, 166 billion. They're going to report this morning. ARM Holdings, 126 billion. They report tonight. Mercado Libre, 113 billion, also tonight. AppLovin, 102 billion. They also report tonight. Okay. None of these will probably move the markets, but they probably will make an impact on their sectors. Thursday, we got in the morning Shopify, 127 billion. Anheuser-Busch, 118 billion. ConocoPhillips, 111 billion. Those three are in the morning on Thursday. In the evening, McKesson Corp, which is 68 billion, 88 billion. All right, and then Brookfield Corporation, 81 billion. Again, more familiar names, but nothing that's going to move the markets like those big cap stocks that reported last week. Friday, what do we got on Friday? We got Enbridge, and they are 101 billion. All right, and they're going to report Friday morning. All right, so that's it for me for this morning. If there's any questions, drop them in there. Rick Finkel, if you're around, I did report the ES numbers. They're there in the chat. If you're around, I hope you found them. All right, it's the pivot. The green erase is red, and the red erase is green, and that's for the SPY futures right there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and render my video. I will see you guys in about 45 minutes. All right. You're welcome, Rickster. All right, it's 45 minutes, and we'll kick off the market. Oh, what we want to do? Wanted to look at the pre-market. I said we'd do that. All right, and let's put the pre-market on here. Okay, so now you can see the downtrend line right here. Let's drag this down just a little bit, get it in a little bit tighter. Okay, so there's our downtrend line. And you can see we hit that yesterday. We hit that in the overnight, and that's one of our uptrend lines. I think it needs to swing out some, right about there. All right, so we went over here, popped up, hit the downtrend line last night. All right, and now we're floating down, and I think we come down to here. Okay, and visit the uptrend line. See the downtrend line on top? I think we come back and pull back to this uptrend line right here. All right, that's what I'd be looking for, is price action to pull back to this uptrend line. All right, in the pre-market. And the post-market, well, actually, all day today. Again, we're coming into the pivot, 599.90. Probably be $1.50 bounce right there. All right, so there's SPY. All right, we hit the top line. Probably going to come back here and visit the bottom line. That would be next. All right, we're closed in with a downtrend, so I'm looking for a red candle this morning. All right, I'm looking for a candle that's not a bottoming tail candle. I'm looking for a candle that's not a spinning top or a doji, and I don't want a green candle because green candle probably says to me that the bulls are in control. So I want something where the bears are in control. So I'm looking for a red candle, red 10-minute candle. All right, and I'd like it to be, again, not a spinning top, not a doji, not a bottoming tail candle. All right, that would be my entry candle. if it was red and it was none of those above, okay? No green candles. All right, so that's what I'm looking for a continuation of that breakdown move that started yesterday just before close. All right. All right, that's it. All right, I'll see you guys in 45 minutes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.